Okay, so today's notes are on polymers section 9.3. By the end of this, we should be able to accomplish three different things. First of all is describe one way that polymers can be classified. How can they be identified one from the other? Identify three different ways that monomers can link together to make polymers, and identify four different types of polymers that organisms can produce, whether it be an animal or a plant. First thing we need to go through is our definition of a polymer. Now, polymer is a large molecule that forms when many smaller molecules are linked by covalent bonds. Now, covalent bond we talked about earlier on in the year, and this is sharing of electrons. Electrons being shared from one atom to another. The breakdown of the word polymer, we should be able to use the context clues. Poly means many, mono obviously the opposite meaning one, and mer is our unit. In Mr. Yann's class, you guys talked about polytheism or monotheism. The same root of the word means the same prefix here. So a polymer is just a long chain of lots of different monomers linked together. Oops, we gotta scroll up here. So if we have these three different examples, two of them are polymers, and we, again, think about our definition of polymer. It is long chains of smaller monomers. The first row, where did my thing go? Stop. I lost the toolbar there, sorry about that. The first example, our circles here, this is a polymer. There are four different monomers. So this is one monomer, this is our second monomer, this is our third monomer, and this is our fourth monomer. They are the same exact molecule, the circle being represented four different times. They are connected. So that follows the definition, smaller units connected together. Our second example in the second row is also a polymer because we have repeating units of star circle. So we have one monomer, we have a second monomer, and we have our third monomer. Again, it could be one or two, it could be five different things together as one monomer, but because the pattern goes star circle, star circle, star circle, this verifies that it is a polymer. We do have the same thing repeated over and over. Now our bottom row, we do not have any we don't have a monomer. We don't have anything that is repeated in pattern, so this is not a polymer. It is just a random pattern, and again, that is because none of the shapes are repeated in any sort of manner. Our first category of polymers is going to be a synthetic polymer. Synthetic means man-made, so all of these do not come from nature, and the properties of the polymer itself depend on two different things. The first is the type, the type of monomer. So is it 3 carbons together? Is it 5 carbons together? Is it 12 carbons together? And the second that determines the property are the number of monomers. Ooh, I don't have my mouse, so bear with me here. And this is, again, so of those monomers, are there 8,000 of them? Are there 3 of them? Are there 4 of them? Properties, again, we talked about these at the beginning of the year. Properties like hardness, strength, elasticity, color even, all of these things can be based on those two different items of type and number of monomers. 3 examples of synthetic polymers are rubber, which we all know, rubber bands or rubber balloons, nylons that women wear, or nylon in backpacks. There's, again, a wide variety of these, and polyethylene. Polyethylene is plastic. This diagram here shows the molecular makeup, basic makeup of polyethylene. We have ethylene, which is our unsaturated hydrocarbon, C2H4, and this is the monomer that's going to come together and form polyethylene chain, which is seen here. The O and the R just means there's other things added to it at the end. Polyethylene, again, many ethylenes. So our synthetic polymers, the properties are going to be based on those two items, the type of monomer and the number of monomers. So ethylene is always going to be this monomer. Are there 5 of those? Are there 10 of those? How are they arranged? The number, and the more or less, the stronger, the stretchier, whatever it may be. Our second category, obviously, if we have synthetic, then we're going to have natural as our opposites. Where did my toolbar go? Natural polymers are those made in nature, and there's 4 different categories of natural polymers. We have starches, similar to sugars, cellulose, which is a plant-based material, nucleic acids, this is everyone's favorite, DNA, and proteins. Proteins, not just proteins that we eat, but proteins are things that your cells are responsible for making to make you you. Gives you your blue eyes, gives you your freckles, whatever characteristics you have, it's all based on the proteins that your cells make. Now, all of these are made in either plants and or animals. Again, animals don't make cellulose. We can eat cellulose, but we do not make it. We have 3 different pictures here for our natural polymers. Our first one is cellulose, and we have 4 different rings, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each corner is a carbon, but scientists just, again, drawing the C because it makes their life a lot easier. And cellulose is a polymer because we have multiple monomers linked together. Now here, the monomer is 2 of our carbon rings with our CH2O2 attached with an oxygen. So this is one monomer. We have another monomer here. They're kind of just like links on a chain. Okay, each link is the monomer, the chain together is the polymer. And starch, very similar. It has the same structure here. If you look, this ring is the same. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons plus our CH2OH as up here, and our oxygen. But what's different about it is the way that they are attached together. All of the CH2OHs are on the same plane. Here it's alternating 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we all have them across the top. So the monomer in this starch here is only 1 carbon ring, 1 carbon plus our CH2OH ring, and they are connected just as the other ones here with a covalent bond between these oxygens. So all of these are connections. There would be another one here. There we got one here. Oops, excuse me, not there, because that's one monomer. So here we had 2 monomers, down here we have 4. And the picture on the right hand here looks a little bit more complicated, and that's because it is our nucleic acids. This is a picture of a DNA strand, a double helix, and the dotted square here is our one nucleotide. It has a pentagon, a circle, and a green little tab. This is one nucleotide. That's considered our monomer. We have another one here. Everything is exactly the same except for the color that is attached to the step of the ladder. And that's just, when you get to biology, we will talk about that next year. But that's, again, just to determine which actual protein your cell is going to make. So what characteristics are you going to have? And we have the same thing going down on the other side. They are just upside down. Our pentagons, the oxygen on the pentagon is facing down as opposed to facing up. You guys get the hang of it, but it's just monomer, 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 monomer. The whole thing is polymer. Monomer, monomer, long chain is polymer. Monomer, 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 monomer. The entire thing is polymer. And again, they're all added together and connected by covalent bonds, sharing of electrons. This is just a brief list of natural versus synthetic polymers that you all have seen and heard of and been aware of. Natural: cotton, hemp, hair, wool, and rubber. So again, we have plant-based cotton and hemp, and we have animal-based down at the bottom, hair, wool, and rubber. Rubber actually comes from a tree, and it's kind of like a maple tree, and the rubber is similar to what the maple syrup would be. And we have on the right side our synthetics, so our man-made, again, nylon, Kevlar, this is in bulletproof vests, rubber can also be made synthetically, like rubber tires, and polyethylene, which is, again, fancy word for plastic, the scientific word for plastic, because it's made of many ethylenes. All right, last thing here, we have 3 different types of linkages, or how the polymers can be shaped based on the way that the monomers are arranged, which will determine their properties. The first way that they can be linked up is a straight chain. So the monomers are straight end to end. Nothing fancy here, they are just lined up like ducks in a row. If you look over here, we have just straight across, nothing fancy, okay? This diagram is saying that they are straight as well. It's a little bit more detailed, but they are just straight lined up, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Now, when we have a straight chained polymer, they are going to be sturdy and rigid. So they're going to hold their shape. They're going to be a little bit flexible. Examples of those would be like garden hoses and milk containers. You can squeeze them, but they will go back to their normal shape. And they're not incredibly easy for you to like burst or rip by yourself. You'd have to cut them with like a razor blade or scissors or something like that. They are strong, but not the strongest. Our second is a branch chain. So again, just like the hydrocarbons that we talked about earlier in the chapter, they can have any length of a branch. We have a straight line here, and then we have a branch coming off here. Here we're going to have 2 branches, straight line in the middle, branch coming up top, branch coming out the bottom, and our third example, we have a straight beginning, and then we have 3 different branches. And branches, there can be 5 of them, there can be 2 of them. Just the fact that there is 1 makes it considered a branch chain. And in branch chain polymers, the properties, the items themselves are more flexible than the straight chain polymers. Examples are plastic wrap, ketchup bottles. Again, you may think it's similar to a milk bottle, but if you look at the milk bottle container, you can tell that they are a little bit different. Plastic wrap, we have stretchability to it. You can poke it with a fork. You can even poke it with your finger and rip through it. So these, again, have a wider range. And again, that is just based on the number of branches. Is it 5 branches? Is it 10 branches? Is it 2 branches like this one over here? And the last category, the last shape, is cross-linked. So this looks like a ladder, and if you look, we have a cross-linkage here, there is one here, there is one here. If the picture continued, there'd be another one over here. And these are not easy to break apart. These are the widest range. It could be rubber to all the way hard plastic, like the plastic that protects your iPad, or the plastic, that is in the stapler. The hard plastics are always cross-linked because they are the sturdiest, and they're sturdiest just because of that reinforcement that this chain and this chain are connected together here. They're going to be connected together somewhere else. The one below it is also connected, and it does kind of look like, if you look at the walls of the classroom right now, if you look at the cement, the concrete bricks, or even if you think about like a chimney, and then the way that they're lined up, that's how it could look in a more linear fashion, a straighter fashion, as opposed to this, which is a little bit more wobbly. And that is all we have. So that was 9.3, difference of polymers. We should again be able to right now identify our 3 different categories of shape of polymers, identify natural versus synthetic polymers, and the different polymers that arise naturally, and some examples of the synthetic polymers. But thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.